Bezrat Hashem will continue in the second lesson in the Likutei Moharan. We're at chapter 5. So in chapter 5, basically, he's going to show what comes out of it. Because we said, just to give a little summary, we said that we need to draw down, this prayer, finding always the Nikudot Tovot. This prayer needs to always be drawn down. It needs, first of all, to have always remember in the back of your mind the covenant that Hashem made with Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. That covenant that he loves us, and he'll, even that tiny little Nekuda Toiva that we have, a little good deed that we did, is the only thing that he looks at, and he's willing to flip the entire judgment, no matter what it is that I did. He's willing to flip it all into good if I just, focus on that Nekuda Tova and be happy with it, and realize that that's my true essence. And the other thing is always drawing down this prayer, bringing it down through the center line, which is mishpat, and the way to do that is through tzedakah, which is always justifying yourself and drawing in lots of tzedakah, charity, and chesed to your neshama, and having that mercy on your neshama, remembering that your soul is is holy, and that's what's important to Hashem, and not your body that is just running after this world. That's just a test that was given every single person, but in this generation especially, and all the prophets talk about it, that Hashem is not judging anyone in this generation based on, on their actions. He just wants us to be happy and focus on the little bit of good that we do have, and just be happy with that. That's all Hashem wants. He's not looking for us to be tzaddikim. There are a few tzaddikim of the generation. Every generation there's, lamed vav tzaddikim, and Bezrat Hashem will get there one day. And this is what Rav Nachman's basically teaching us, is how to get there. And it's amazing because it's not what everybody thought all these years. They have to do so many things in order to become a tzaddik. It's actually a very simple thing. It's just changing your way of thinking. So in chapter Hey, basically Rav Nachman is going to show the blemish that comes out of the judgment when a person doesn't draw down the way he judges himself. He doesn't bring it down through the center line. He's always looking at his negative and judging himself in a bad way. And showing also from the prophet Yeshaya that the final redemption, will be a fixing of this mishpat. That basically we'll start learning again how to judge ourselves the right way. So he says in chapter Hey, V'ikar shel hamachshavot zarot em al yedei kilkul hamishpat. That the machshavot zarot, when a person has all these thoughts in his mind that are going back and forth, and he's thinking negative about himself and always bashing himself, this comes from a blemish of the mishpat, of not drawing it down through the center line with lots of goodness and chesed and tzedakah. Ki mishpat hu bechinat einin, kmo shekatuv, vayavo el ein mishpat, v'zeh bechinat ein Yaakov. So we see that mishpat, this judging yourself, this drawing it down through the center line, it's the aspect of eyes. Einin also means the sources of water, like where there's a ma'ayan, where water comes out of the mountain. I couldn't quite figure out, how that's connected. I'm sure it's connected to Torah, Aleph, which, I guess the letter Aleph, it's all kind of like the upper Yud. You're drawing down through the Vav. You're drawing down the light, from the mind through the body into the heart. So it's kind of like like a Ma'ayan, which is a source of water that goes from one place to another. But over here he's talking about just like the judgment. We see that is connected. Reb Nachman brings two different sources, that the mishpat, which is judging yourself through this center line, it's connected to the eyes. So one of them is from Bereshit 14, Ve'avo el ein mishpat. Rashi over there says that was the place where it was mentioned. It was mentioned over there when in the war, when Avram Avinu was chasing after the four kings to save Lot, and it says over there ein mishpat, that when they were about to fight the four kings against the five, so they came down to this valley called Ein Mishpat, and that was the place where Moshe Rabbeinu in the future, later on, ended up the whole thing with hitting the stone and not going into Eretz Yisrael because of that. So that was called Ein Mishpat. So we see that Ein is an eye, and Mishpat is the judgment. And also in Devarim 33, it says Ein Yaakov. So again, we know Yaakov corresponds to Mishpat, like we said earlier, and Ein is the eye. So again, we see that the mishpat, this judgment, and eyes have one to do. V'alken kilkul mishpat, v'alidei kilkul mishpat ba kilkul ha'einin. So Rav Nachman's teaching over here that when a person doesn't know how to judge himself properly, and he's always judging himself in a bad way and putting himself down and looking at himself in a negative way, what happens is he causes this causes a blemish to the eyes. The way he sees the world, the way he sees the Torah, the way he sees other people, the way he judges people. The eyes get very strongly affected when a person basically takes that role of Esav, of his Yetzer Hara, and starts looking out of the Yetzer Hara's eyes, always judging himself in a bad way. He starts taking that negative role, and what happens is it affects the way his eyes see the world. Like it says, Ashochad ya'aver einei chachamim. So we see the pasuk in Dvarim 16, it says that the shochad, when you give a judge, it says, the Torah says you can't bribe a judge. Right, the judges are called chachamim, and the Torah gives the reason why you can't bribe a judge is because it says that the shochad is ya'aver einei chachamim. It makes the wise people, the chachamim's eyes, their eyes just get blinded. So we see that that kilkul mishpat, when there's a blemish to the judgment, right, then it automatically affects the eyes, because the Torah should have said something else, like when you give when you bribe a judge, so you're causing a blemish to the judgment over here. Obviously, the judge is not going to judge properly. He's getting bribed. But why did the Torah have to say, that the shochad, the bribery, blinds the eyes of the chachamim? Why did it connect it over here to the eyes? So we see the Torah is teaching us that when there's shochad, when there's bribery, which means when the Yetzer Hara bribes you, and he convinces you that really all the bad and everything that you did, it's all your fault and you're to blame and Hashem's upset with you, and the whole that tape that he plays, right? So that blinds the eyes of the Chachamim, which means the Chachamim correspond to our Chochmah, our Moshe Rabbeinu, our Mashiach, our Moshe Rabbeinu from within our mind, that has that ability to see out into the world and see the truth, look at things the right way. So that the shochad, the kilkul mishpat, the blemish of the mishpat, when a person doesn't judge himself properly, it causes a blemish to the chachamim, to his Mashiach. V'zeh bechinat machshavot zarot shebatfilah. And this is the aspect of when a person has machshavot zarot, he has like all kinds of stray thoughts in his prayer. When he's trying to pray, he's being like, his mind keeps getting bombarded with all these thoughts that are coming in. Shehem ananin demechasin al ainin, kmo shekatuv sakota be'anan lach me'avor tefillah. It says in Eicha that Hashem, blocked the prayers from going up with clouds. So these clouds that are covering up our eyes, right? They're the things that are causing us to have all these thoughts. Where basically our eyes have clouds, we don't see them, but there's clouds on our eyes that are preventing the prayers from going up. And it's only because a person is from within himself, he's not, being like that tzaddik, being that righteous one who's always justifying himself, always looking at his good, because he's not taking that role. So what happens is his prayers and the words that come out of his mouth, they don't have the ability to go up because it's completely blocked. There's like clouds on his eyes, clouds on the prayers. And then, so that's up until now the blemish of the judgment, when a person doesn't take the role of the tzaddik, of always justifying himself. And then he says, in the future, when Mashiach comes, shitukan bechinat mishpat, when this mishpat aspect gets fixed, like it says in Ishaya chapter 1. It says, he brings over here of Nachman, Tzion b'mishpat tipadeh, that Tzion, Am Yisrael, will get redeemed through mishpat, with the fixing of mishpat. So over here it says that the whole pasuk it's talking about when Hashem finally brings the final redemption. V'ashiva shoftayich kevarishona v'yatzayich kevatchila. That Hashem says, I'll bring back your judges, the way you're supposed to judge yourself, right? It'll come back the way it used to be, and your advisors, like they used to be at the beginning. And then you'll be called. It's talking about the whole nation or the country, right? But obviously it applies to us on a personal level as well, so that your whole city, which is your heart, your whole body, will be called the Kiryan Ne'emana, faithful city. And then it says Tzion b'mishpat tipadeh v'shaveh b'tzdaka, that Tzion will be redeemed with mishpat, through this aspect of mishpat, of judgment, where we judge ourselves properly. Veshavea b'tzedakah. Shavea b'tzedakah means that the way that we will return, we're going to be redeemed through mishpat. By Hashem's going to bring us and teach us this way of judging ourselves properly. But how are we going to return? Veshavea b'tzedakah. The way we're going to return, it's all going to be through tzedakah. Meaning that's going to be the key that's going to bring us back to that. Judging ourselves in the right way is through tzedakah. And that's exactly what Reb Nachman said. He said, because we said in chapter 3, that a person needs to judge himself, right? And he has to always draw it down through the center line. And then he said, how do you merit to do that? In chapter 4, Reb Nachman said, only through tzedakah, by justifying yourself. So that's exactly what it says in the pasuk here, that the way we're going to really return to this justifying ourselves properly is going to be through tzedakah. And when a person does this, when a person gets to this place of taking this upon himself and start judging himself really in this way, so these clouds that are covering up the eye, this one eye of mercy that we spoke about in one of the classes, that it's mamish today. It's two eyes. It's the clouds, Esav and Ishmael. It's those two, the right line, the left line. It's not. There's no center line. Not drawing it down through the center and seeing everything through that one eye of mercy, just seeing the mercy of Hashem. So it says when that happens, when Hashem comes and redeems Am Yisrael, then the clouds are going to get wiped out. They're going to evaporate, disintegrate, and they're not going to cover up anymore the one eye. Like it says, Ki ayin be'ayin yiru b'shuv Hashem Tzion. Eye to an eye, we're going to see the way Hashem, Yudke Vavke, returns to Tzion. U'b'shvizeni Yosef ben Porat ale ayin. And for this reason, Yosef HaTzadik was called, ben Porat ale ayin, which means that he was like above the eye. It's not like above the eye, it's more like ale ayin, which means, like it says, the ayin hara doesn't have any grasp on Yosef HaTzadik, the bad eye. Because Yosef, like we said last time, Yosef HaTzadik's whole avodah, his whole work was, when he was in Egypt, was basically working on just judging himself favorably and always finding his little nekudot tovot, and that was the only way he survived in Egypt and stayed Yosef HaTzadik. If he would have looked at his bad, he would have fell really fast. So he's called Ben Porat Ale Ayin. That was the blessing that was given to him by his father, that he was mamish like above the eye. He had that one eye of mercy, of just seeing Hashem's mercy and hanging on to that covenant of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov and never letting go of it. So that's why he was called Ben Porat Ale Ayin. That's chapter 5. Chapter 6, וצריך כל אדם לכוון בתפילתו שיקשר עצמו לצדיקים שבדור. כי כל צדיק שבדור הוא בחינת משה משיח, כמו שמצינו שהצדיקים קוראים זה לזה משה, כמו משה שפיר כאמרת. So Reb Nachman here says that a person needs to tie all of his tefillahs, everything when a person davens tefillah or Torah, the highest level of tefillah you could do is when you're davening with Torah, which means you learn Torah and you learn about something and then you realize how far you are from that thing, so you daven to Hashem about that Torah that you would like to get, that level you want to get to. That's the highest level. So Reb Nachman says that a person needs to connect all of his prayers to the tzaddikim of the generation. And he always adds the word in a lot of places in the Gemara, in this Torah, I think almost in every word, or besides one maybe, that he says the word tzaddik, he always says tzaddikim shebador, the tzaddik of the generation. And the reason why is because Reb Nachman's trying to, he's pointing out in Reish Pei Bet, which is the headquarters of where we learn this idea of that the tzaddik means not that person over there sitting on the top of the government or whatever, that tzaddik, but it's actually the tzaddik from within you, and it's that tzaddik who's always justifying yourself, right? That's the tzaddik Reb Nachman's talking about. So Reb Nachman over there, Reish Pei Bet, also when he spoke about tzaddikim and mentioned the word tzaddikim, he said tzaddikim shebador. He put the word shebador there to just to emphasize that that's the tzaddik I'm talking about. And in other Torahs, Reb Nachman also says that Moshe and Mashiach is talking about that redeemer from within you, that redemption from within your mind, when your mind takes that leadership and decides to make a change and start, how I'm going to start thinking and how I'm going to start controlling, my downs. And, a lot of people, they dig themselves holes because they're always grinding in this tape and the negative and the bad, and what happens is they don't even realize it a lot of times, but they're just, destroying their own life without even realizing, and making their life difficult and hard. But so basically, Moshe Mashiach means that power that you have from within you, the Moshe, which is that Redeemer, right, and that Mashiach that could mamish bring you to the ultimate redemption through Moshe. So it's the tzaddikim, so it's through the tzaddik, and Moshe corresponds to this tzaddik also. Right? The tzaddikim is the justifying yourself, always hanging on to justifying yourself, and through that you connect to the Moshe Mashiach. You mamish connect to that true redemption from Egypt and the final redemption from the, from everything. So a person needs to connect all of his prayers and tie them into this aspect of the tzaddikim of the generation, which is always justifying themselves. Called tzaddik shebadol b'chinat Moshe Mashiach, because every tzaddik of the generation, any person, like Reb Nachman says mefurash in Reish Pei Bet, in Torah Reish Pei Bet, he says that every single person is like a type of a shepherd, and every single person is like a tzaddik, and he can judge himself by collecting these little nekudot avot from within all the bad things that he did, and through the collection of those nekudot avot, he builds a mishkan, which is exactly what he's talking about over here. So he says every single generation, kol tzaddik shebador hu b'chinat Moshe Mashiach. Every one of the tzaddikim, every one of Am Yisrael is considered, he's the aspect of Moshe Mashiach. Like we found that the tzaddikim call themselves, in the Gemara it says they call themselves Moshe Shapir Ka'amalt. Right? They say, when one of the tzaddikim in the Gemara, let's say, would say something nice, so something really good, so the other rabbi would tell him Moshe Shapir Ka'amalt, like Moshe, you said beautiful words. So also Moshe Shapir Ka'amalt means you said nice words, you said good words. So it's also talking about the hevel she'en bochet, that when a person is always judging himself favorably, so he's not speaking out of his mouth bad things. He's not looking for his sins or his bad stuff and mentioning, lashon hara and all kinds of negative things out of his mouth. He's always on this role of Moshe Mashiach, of justifying himself and trying to become better and be more positive. So what happens is his hevel peh, slowly, it takes some time, but slowly his mouth just can't speak negative, can't speak bad. So that was what they would say. They say Moshe Shapir Ka'amalt, that the words that you said are like beautiful. Well, Moshe is a bechinat Mashiach, and Moshe is the aspect of Mashiach. Where do we learn that from? Like it says in where is that from? I'm not sure. It says over there Sham, but it says Ad ki yavo Shiloh. Maybe it's over there in Bereshit, Bereshit 49. It says Ad ki yavo Shiloh da Moshe Mashiach. The Zohar says Ad ki yavo Shiloh. Shiloh is also the gematria, the numerical value, I think, of Moshe, if I'm not mistaken. The other thing that's interesting about Moshe and Mashiach is that the words Moshe is the letters. It's mem hey and a shin. There's a shin in the center. So mem hey is 45, which is the numerical value of Adam, Aleph Daled Mem, and you have the shin. And Mashiach, right? So Moshe is the Adam. We said is the shlemut, the completion. When a person has that Aleph, meaning he has the connection between his mind and his heart, through drawing down the Torah through the Vav, right? But which Torah? The Torah of that tzaddik, that Esek HaTorah, which is always being connected to that Shin, which is the Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. That's the Moshe, which is the Adam. It's the numerical value of Adam Shin, which means the Shin is the Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, which is always being connected to that covenant that Hashem made with Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And Mashiach is the letter Shin, and then the other letters is Mem, Chet, Yud, which is the numerical value of 58, which is Chen. Chen is the whole Torah Aleph, which is all about drawing down the Chochmah, right? Drawing down the Sechel from the mind down to the heart, and how to do it in that whole process. So Mashiach and Moshe, they're also the same numerical value. No, they're not the same numerical value. No, Moshe and Shiloh are the same numerical value, but Moshe and Mashiach are the same aspect. So Rabbi Nachman just brought in from the Zohar where we learned that Moshe is the aspect of Mashiach, because it says Ad ki yavo Shiloh, when Shiloh will come, which is Mashiach, and Shiloh is the numerical value of Moshe. V'chol tefillah u'tefillah shekol echad mitpalel, every single prayer that a person prays, hu b'chinat evar me'ashchina. It's mamish like one of the limbs of the Shechina. Shehem evarei mishkan, right? Which are all the different parts there were in the Mishkan when we built the Mishkan. So Rav Nachman says in a different Torah that every single word that comes out of prayer or Torah that comes out of a person's mouth, he's mamish building. It's the binyan of kedusha, which means his ultimate level of kedusha that he needs to get to in order to mamish fix his entire being. That every single one of his bones and ligaments will be like holy and all be serving Hashem. That's called tikkun, the tikkun of the Malchut Kedusha, the fixing of his Malchut Kedusha on a personal level. So every prayer that a person says, or every Torah that he learns, anything that comes out of his mouth, is mamish. It's like another little part. It's like those little nekudot tovot that we said. You gather the little good deeds that you do, and through that you build the Mishkan. So every single one is mamish like another part of the Mishkan. She'en shum echad miYisrael yachol la'ala she'afa b'she'afa kol chad leduchte ela Moshe b'lechud. That there's no one that could put together the Mishkan besides Moshe Rabbeinu, which means the same way in the desert, even though we collected everything and we built everything that needed to be, for the Mishkan, the only one that can actually put it together was Moshe Rabbeinu. So it's like Moshe Rabbeinu is that that power that you have from within your mind, that redemption. But if a person doesn't make that switch in his mind and start judging himself favorably and always looking at his nekudot tovot and all the things that we mentioned, then he can't come to that redemption because it depends on him. He has the power from within him of the Moshe Mashiach, but he has to make the change himself. So that's what the Torah is teaching us, saying that all these nekudot tovot, all these prayers that we're praying, each one is like another part of the Mishkan. And as you're praying, the prayers, or you're davening, or you're learning Torah, or doing mitzvahs, or all those things, you're basically building another part of the Mishkan, and slowly it's getting built, right? But the one who's going to mamish build it, finally do the final building until Mashiach, and bring your final redemption, that depends all on Moshe Rabbeinu, which is that Mashiach from within you. It's interesting, you can also see how Rav Nachman keeps changing from tzaddik of generation to Moshe, to tzaddik to Moshe. It's exactly for the reason that we're talking about. Because when he talks about Moshe, he's talking about that redeemer from within you, that power of redemption that you have from within your mind. And then when he's talking about the tzaddik, he's talking about justifying yourself. And he says, for this reason, you have to bring and connect all of your prayers to the tzaddik of the generation. Which means when a person is praying, he has to always connect all of his prayers to the tzaddik. Because the other side very easily tries to, drag you off it. Like I said also in the davening, and especially in Tehillim, you can see it a lot. Whenever you see the word tzaddik and stuff, the way that David HaMelech speaks about the tzaddikim and the Rashayim, the righteous ones and the evil ones. So you can see, that it's very important to connect yourself to this tzaddik, meaning always seeing the tzaddik of the generation as that power from within you that is always justifying yourself and looking at your positive, finding that nekudat tova and only looking at that. Like it says, Vayaviu et hamishkan el Moshe, v'hu yodea la'alaya she'afa b'she'afa v'la'asot ota koma shlema. Like it says in the Torah that they brought the Mishkan to Moshe Rabbeinu, and he knew how to lift up every single one of the pieces, all the sticks and everything, and he's the one who built it until it was complete. Like it says, Vayakem Moshe et HaMishkan. Like it says further on over there that Moshe Rabbeinu put together and lifted up the Mishkan. And then it says that all the Torah that a person learns, it says, all the Torah that a person learns to keep and to do. So lishmor and la'asot is, lishmor is the mitzvahs of not doing, lo ta'aseh, which means all the things a person fell in, and la'asot are the mitzvot ta'aseh, because this is what it's all about. The Torah, like Rav Nachman said in Torah Aleph, esek haTorah bekoach. So that's when a person strengthens himself and finds the nekudot tovot from within his fall, and doesn't let him fall completely, just finds those good deeds that he did. So when a person takes all the good and all the bad together, mitzvahs aseh and mitzvot lo ta'aseh, the things he fell in, and brings them up in prayer before Hashem, kol ha'otiyot hem nitzotzei neshamot vehem nitlabshim betoch hatfilah. every single one of the letters of Torah that he brings up in this prayer, each one of the letters is mamish like a little spark of a soul, and they come into the prayer. Like the prayer becomes like a garment with all of these little souls from within it. And they get renewed over there. All these little souls of each letter is a soul, and each one of them gets renewed from within the mother, which is the prayer that comes and wraps them and holds them. So it says in the Gilgulim, over here he brings a little thing from the Arizah, from the Kabbalah, that all the neshamas go into the Malchut, which is the prayer, and they get renewed over there. And that's what it says, השמיים מספרים כבוד אל, היינו התורה שהוא אש ומים, היינו בחינת הנשמות, ובאים בתוך התפילה שהוא בחינת כבוד אל, כמו שכתוב, שימו כבוד תהילתו. בחינת תהילתי יחתום לך. So this is just the psukim Reb Nachman is bringing to show how that the Torah, all the words of the Torah go, and they become, the tefillah, the prayer becomes a garment that hovers over and protects all these little souls of Torah. שימו כבוד תהילתו, והנשמות עם התפילה נקרא כבוד, על שם שהיא מלבשת אותנו, כי רבי יוחנן קרא למנה מכבדותה, ועל ידי זה נקראת כבוד אל. והן מאירין זה לזה. Basically, the Torah, the letters of Torah, which are these little souls, these little sparks of souls, and the tefillah, which is wrapping, that mother that's wrapping these little souls, they give one to the other. So the neshamas, the souls, me'irin la tefillah b'bchinat ha'alat mayin nukbin. They bring what's called this like feminine waters, right? On a simple level, it's basically, on a simple level, what it means is when a person is learning Torah, right? If a person learns Torah and now he goes to pray to Hashem about the Torah that he learned, so it's much easier for him to pray because he has a lot what to pray about. He knows, like, he learned a bunch of Torah, so he knows now what the things levels he wants to attain and what the things he's lacking and so on. So it gives us very big strength to the prayer. But I think Reb Nachman, what he's talking about over here is that connection that we spoke about, that little nekuda tova, when a person brings up that little bit of good, meaning he takes, right, the Torah that he lishmo ve'lasot, which means the mitzvahs that he did, the things that he did good, he takes all those nekudot tovot, and the mitzvot lo ta'aseh, which is the things that he fell in, and he finds sifts out the little good points from within even the things he fell in, and he takes those things up. So that mamish brings this I don't know the exact word for it. It's called mayin nukbin. It's like feminine waters. It's like a yearning and a ishtakikut that comes from us going up to Hashem. Vatfilah, so that's what the Torah gives. All those little sparks, the letters of Torah, that's what they give to the prayer. They give a mayin nukbin. This yearning from the malchut, from the shechina coming up towards Hashem. Vatfilah meira la'neshamot b'vchinat chidushin. And the Torah, the prayer gives the neshama to all these sparks of holy, the words of Torah, gives it like chidushim, which means that a person gets great chidushim. A lot of he davens, takes this prayer, these words of Torah that he learned, and he mamish prays for them and brings them up, and he davens to Hashem and does like a cheshbon nefesh and brings all of his deeds, all these good and bad things. The bad, he finds the nikudot avot from within them, he brings them up before Hashem. And when a person does this, and obviously he does it through the whole process that we said in the second lesson, through the justifying yourself in the center line and so on, through all of that, a person really merits the chidushim, which over here I think Reb Nachman's talking about the chidushim, which is drawing down, reconnecting the heart and the mind, when that light reconnects. So when a person can flip the entire judgment of all the bad things that he did, he flips it, and all the bad turns into good, so he gets all of those sparks of holiness that were up until now by the other side. So it gives him this huge awakening. So that's the chidushin. Chidushin means like it's a mamish, like a renewing of his soul. He feels like a renewing, this light coming down into his heart. והנשמות המלובשים בתפילה מובאות לצדיק שבדור. So these souls that are garmented with the prayer, that are brought to the tzaddik of the generation, which means they always have to be brought to the tzaddik of the generation, always to this place of justifying yourself in order so you can aim to that center line. And bivchinat betulot acharei re'otei muva'ot lach. So he brings a pasuk here from Tehillim 45. Just going to read it here. There's a few things. I'm not going to read the whole thing just simply because I just have the Tanakh without a commentary, so I don't know exactly what it is. But if you go back to the beginning, it says, Davar tov omer ani ma'asai lemelech, that when a person is mamish speaking good and saying good words, those are all bringing a person closer to Hashem. And then it says, Yofyafit mibnei adam hutzak chen besiftotecha al ken berachacha Elohim leolam. And when a person mamish has good words, he has chen, on his lips, that he's speaking good words, it's mamish a blessing, brings him close to Hashem. He'll have this mamish, always a blessing from Elohim. Then it says, Chagorcha becha al yarech, gibor hodcha va'adarecha. Hold this sword of prayer, of these nikudot tovot, always judging yourself favorably, hold this very close to yourself, and always use it. And then further on he says, Ahavta tzedek v'tisna resha al ken meshachecha Elohim Elohecha shemen sason mechaverecha. Right, a person loves tzedek, which is always justifying himself. He hates the resha, he hates the rasha, which is always, telling you to look at your bad. Right, if a person holds that pathway that he loves the tzedek, the tzedakah, but he hates the rasha, al ken meshachecha Elohim Elohecha shemen sason mechaverecha. That God will mamish draw down onto you this oil, and we know the oil is Mishchat Kodesh, is this light that comes from above, this connection between the heart and the mind. And then further on it says, Shim'i bat uri v'ati oznech v'shichichi amech uvet avich. It says, listen, daughter, right? Listen and turn your ear to me. Forget your father's home. Forget your nation you came from, which means all your past, everything that you have from your past, from your childhood and everything. Just leave it all behind. Forget about all that. Hashem loves your beauty, which means those little nikudot tovot within you. That's what Hashem loves, right? Bow down to Hashem, which means bow down to the one and only, that goodness, that positive. Be that tape in your mind that's always thinking of the goodness of Hashem, the Yud Kei Vav Kei, right? The Chesed, the Tzedakah, and stop playing that other tape. And then it says, Lirkamot tuva lamelech betulot acharei ro'atei muva'ot lach. It's all talking about the little nekudat tova, the goodness we have from within us. Tuvalna bismachot vagil tavona be'echal melech. So it's basically the pasuk of Nachman is bringing over here, betulot acharei ro'atei muva'ot lach, that it's talking about that we're bringing now before Hashem, we're bringing all of these little nekudot tovot that we have. And the way we're doing it is we're doing it through justifying ourselves. Like we said at the beginning, that if a person mamish justifies himself and always looks for his good, that Hashem will draw down onto him, right? He's always taking that path of the tzaddik, not the path of the rasha. Hashem will bring onto him that shemen mishchat kodesh, that oil, which is mamish, that light. So that's what Rav Nachman is saying, that you have to bring all your prayers, these words of Torah that are in prayer, you have to always bring them to the tzaddik, which means connect them to that tzaddik and never connect them to the rasha. Don't ever let them, don't let the rasha tape play from within your mind, because otherwise, if that happens, a person could never connect his Torah and tefillah to the center line, to the mishpat, and then, he can't come out of those clouds. So anyhow, I know the last part was a little bit difficult. Some of the parts in Likutei Moharan are a little bit hard to explain, but I hope it made a little bit of sense, and B'ezrat Hashem, we'll talk in a bit.